When a primatologist Akira Suzuki began studying show monkeys in the 1950s, he found that they often roamed out of the mountains to feed in apple orchards. After a decade observing this behavior, Suzuki began to feed the monkeys in their mountains habitats by providing them with soybeans to eat. The monkeys no longer raided the orchards where Suzuki began his work. 23 snow monkeys lived in the region he studied. The population today is 270 snow monkeys and is expected to continue growing. Question: which one of the following claims is most strongly supported by the information above? So we came to the information on the snow monkeys. We considered that the research done in the 1950s about the living conditions and the food they were eating. Snow monkeys roamed out of their mountain habitat. Snow monkeys also eat apples, orchards out of the mountains. Snow monkeys fed on soybeans in their mountain habitat. Snow monkeys no longer raided apple orchards. Snow monkeys no longer left mountains living conditions. Conclusion: snow monkeys population increased and continued. So based on this information that we have, we're going to go ahead and consider the choice A, and then we're going to go from there as which one strongly supports this information. For choice A, snow monkeys do not feed outside of their mountain habitats when food is readily available within it. Yes, this claim of snow monkeys eating food that is accessible is supported by this passage. Let's see if any of this other answer choice is better. B, for snow monkeys, soybeans provide more complete nutrition than other beans. No, this information wasn't mentioned about the nutrition benefits on soybeans and the stimulus, so we're going to have to remove that one. C, in feeding soybeans to the monkeys, Suzuki did not intend to provoke the phenomenon population growth that resulted. No, the population growth is not an unintended phenomenon that the growth resulted. So compare choice A. Choice A is going to be better than choice C, so we're going to have to remove choice C out. D, snow monkeys eat apples only if there is no other fruit to eat. No, the assumption to be made by eating apples only is not that. This is not the assumption to be made. Only the apples, so we're going to remove it. E, feeding soybeans to snow monkeys has proved to be an environmental unsound policy. No, unsound policy is not safe in poor conditions, which is not what the stimulus is mentioning. So by process elimination and by going by the best choice here, we came to choice A, and that was for the snow monkeys do not feed outside of their mountain habitats when food is readily available within it. This claim right here will be the best information to be supported by this passage, by this information above here, above the conclusion. Body temperature can be estimated by the relative proportion of two oxygen isotopes in bone. Such estimates derived from dinosaur fossils suggest that the dinosaurs had nearly the same body temperature in their limbs and as in the rest of their bodies. Typically, the core body temperatures of cold-blooded animals today is much higher than the body temperature in their limbs. Thus, dinosaurs were probably warm-blooded. So this passage is going to be where you consider a question along with it, which the following issue most seriously weakens this argument. So basically, with this information, let's go ahead and figure out which one weakens the stimulus. A, large warm-blooded animals keep their core body temperature slightly higher than the body temperature in their limbs. No, because it will contradict the information on amphibious animals. B, the fossilization process introduces changes to the bones such that their original oxygen isotopes ratios cannot be predicted. That would, yes, weaken the statement, meaning that changes in bones cannot be accurately really to calculate the prediction of oxygen isotope ratios. C, oxygen was more abundant in Earth's atmosphere during the period in which the dinosaurs lived. No, I kind of consider this irrelevant since comparing the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere to the oxygen in the bones, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it. D. Small, warm-blooded animals like mice tend to have more uniform body temperatures than do large, warm-blooded animals like elephant. No, contradicts the information on animal body temperatures because they were going for the difference between animals in the warm-blooded versus cold-blooded. E. Warm-blooded animals are more active and use more oxygen than cold-blooded animals. No, it does not explain the body temperature differences at all. So choice B, the phosphorylation process introduces changes to the bones such that the original oxygen isotope ratios cannot be predicted, is the best match and the best answer for this question. A recent study has found that, surprisingly, the risk of serious injuries to work is higher in industries that are monitored by government safety inspectors than in industries that are not so monitored. Why one of the following, if true, most helps to explain the surprising finding described above? A. Government safety inspectors not only monitor but also train employees of the inspected firms to follow safe practices. No, because accidents are still happening at the workplace and are very high. Government safety inspectors do not have the authority to enforce safety regulations. No, because government is affiliated with these safety inspections. C. Only those industries with inherently high risk of job injuries are monitored by government safety inspectors. Yes, this will explain why the industry monitored by governments is occurring with the high level risk injuries and why they're affiliated in the category with the government inspectors. D. Workers behave especially cautiously when they believe that their performance is being monitored by government safety inspectors. Slightly less, but no evidence to support or not mentioned in the stimulus about the people being more cautiously when they believe they're being government safety inspected, monitored. E. Some of the industries that are being monitored by government safety inspectors have much lower rates of injury than do other industries that are also so monitored. No, contradicts stimulus and goes against the information on the stimulus as well. So choice C, only those industries with inherently high risk of on-the-job injuries are monitored by government safety inspectors, is the best answer. Please subscribe to my channel. I will give daily tips and advice on how to solve the newest LSAT questions. Hello, for this logical reasoning, I decided to use the paraphrasing or rewriting it instead of doing the logical variables where you utilize a single variable to take on a full sentence structure or vocabulary. So right now I have the first sentence. Our country needs as much capital as possible for overseas investors in order to sustain our economy. So basically what they're trying to say is that the U.S. needs capitals from investors outside of our nations in order to keep the economy running, and capital is kind of like the production of goods. Hence, we cannot afford any reduction in the amount of capital the overseas investors have invested here. So they cannot allow capital invested to be reduced in the United States. Therefore it's kind of like a conclusion. To sustain our economy, we should pass laws making it much more difficult for overseas investors to remove their capitals. So in conclusion, creating laws for investors outside of the USA are not able to remove their current capital. That's kind of like the creating laws. And in the last video, we went over a conclusion symbol. I'm going to try to see if we can do it again in this video as well, but that's going to be the conclusion. So with this information we have that the U.S. needs capitals from investors outside of the country in order to keep the economy running. Basically keep the country's productions, goods, businesses, operations sustained. They're communicating about not reducing the capital investments in the USA, so no reductions. And in conclusion, they're communicating about creating laws for investors outside the U.S. to make it more difficult for them to remove their current capital. So this is going to be a weakening question here. Which of one of the following, if true, most weakens the economy's reasoning? For the first one, to sustain its economy, the country needs to diversify its investment more evenly across the country's industry. No, spreading investment evenly in the U.S. is kind of irrelevant to making it weaker. Choice B, laws that would make it more difficult for overseas investors to remove their capital would strongly discourage them from investing any additional capital. Yes, this will damage or weaken the economy's reasoning on investors to support capital in USA. Let's continue, see if there's a better answer. See, the historical period during which the country's economy had the highest rate of growth were those periods during which the amount of capital invested by overseas investors was highest. I'm going to say no. And the reason why I'm going to say no is because it's kind of historical, which is not relevant for making a statement weaker. In a country other than a communist, passage of law that makes it very difficult for overseas investors to remove their capital have not entirely prevented the removal of capital invested by overseas investor. I'm going to say no. It keeps the same level of problem. It keeps the same level of weak at the same level. It doesn't really make it weaker. Last one is going to be E. 2 years ago, the country enacted laws that placed some restrictions on the capital of the removal of capital by overseas investors. Once again, that kind of makes it slightly weak compared to choice B, with B being the better answer. This right here, laws make it more difficult for overseas investors to remove the capital, would strongly discourage them from investing any additional capital. It would definitely make it weaker. And let's go ahead and show the answer. And we got that one correct. So once again, if you guys are interested in the conclusion symbol for the logic philosophy, I'm going to go ahead and quickly draw it for you guys. All it's going to be for conclusion symbol is just going to be 3 triangles. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. And this symbol right here will mean conclusion. So I hope that helps. Thank you guys very much for watching the video. For this prep test, we're going to do the logic reasoning question 5. And this is going to be, start off with, many people with access to the internet express a longing for emotional connection to global human community. So longing is going to be a strong desire for what you would want to attract or connect to. This longing often leads them to use the internet to learn about other cultures. So the desire forces us to learn about other cultures. However, now keyword, however, what I was taught in logic and philosophy is however means here comes the opposite. So right now we're at the point where people who use the internet have a strong desire for emotional connection. The desire focuses to learn about other cultures. Now here comes the opposite, something that we are not expecting. Learning about other cultures will not satisfy their longing, for the internet is used primarily for acquiring information rather than developing feelings of internet connectedness. So that's kind of the conclusion right there. The internet is for acquiring information, not to develop interconnectedness. And for interconnectedness, it's going to be the state of being connected to each other. So this stimulus is going to come with a question, and this question is going to be, which of the following most accurately expresses the conclusion drawn in the columnist argument. So basically we're looking for the conclusion right here. We're going to analyze this right now. So for answer A, it is common for people who have access to the internet to express a longing for emotional connections to internet human community. No, not to express. It's more that they have they use the internet to acquire information, and they do not have interconnectedness. So no for that one. Choice B. The longing for emotional connections to global human community frequently leads to people to use the internet in order to acquire information about other cultures. No, use the internet to acquire info, not have interconnectedness. So let's take that one out. People who have access to the internet tend to use it primarily for acquiring information and secondary for developing feelings of interconnectedness. That's definitely going to be a no. It's not really a primary secondary. It's more of a use for and a not use for. For people desiring connectedness to global human community, learning about other cultures through the internet probably will not provide emotional connectedness to those cultures. That is well put and well said within the conclusion here. It matches up perfectness with the internet acquired for information, not interconnectedness, which is the what they would consider the emotional connections to other cultures. So let's go ahead and keep that. Let's see if choice E is better. When people long for connection to global human community, they tend to engage in a behavior that results in the acquisition of knowledge about other cultures, but rarely produce genuine emotional connections to those other cultures. That's slightly close, but E is going to be better. With the choice D is going to be way better with the information on the internet being utilized. E here is missing the internet. If you can see if I get a highlighter here, we have the choice D, which is going to state that the internet through internet. But however, in choice E, we're missing the internet here. So choice D definitely matches up with our conclusion what we have. So we're going to go ahead and choose choice D. And for the, excuse me real quickly before I get out of this status. Let's see if we have the correct answer here. Ooh, apologize. We got it correct. Let's go back and review it. And question 5, choice D was the correct answer for matching up with the conclusion that we have previously wrote down. And there we have it. And we concluded the question 5 with choice D. Democratic societies in which there is a widespread disconnect more often blame their politics than they do other powerful figures who are at least as responsible for the society's woes. So I have that as blame political figures, not powerful figures. This is not primarily because politicians are more familiar to people than are other powerful figures. So, not because of familiar people than other powerful figures. Rather, it's because... Let's see if I get that one off of there. And let me erase this accidental highlight right here. Rather, it's because people in democratic societies feel that they have more power over politicians than they have other powerful figures. So let me see if we can, for that second highlight, it's not because of familiarity or popularity. And for that third highlight, for the last sentence, I have more power on political figures, not powerful figures. Now, basically, this is only going to apply to democratic societies, all of this information that's in the stimulus. Now, this question type is going to be what you would consider a generalization. And basically just kind of like consider an illustrate or a basic general idea. So for the first answer, often the people who have the most power in a society are not the people who are generally perceived by the public as having the most power. This is going to be no, it's not by generalization, it's more by politics and public figure. So let's take that answer out. People tend to ascribe more power to a person with whom they feel familiar than to the one with whom they are unfamiliar. No, not familiar versus unfamiliar for the blame. So let's go ahead and cross that one out. To the extent that a person is well known to the public, that a person is more likely to blame for the woes of society. No, not the well known in the public. So let's go ahead and remove that. We have to keep in mind it's more of the politic figure. D, public knowing people are often not held sufficiently responsible for a problem they cause. I'm gonna have to say no, because people blame public political figures versus the powerful ones. Choice E, people are more inclined to blame a public-sized known person if the person is someone over whom they feel they have the power. Yes, that matches up with what we were discussing earlier with the blame on a public person, matches up with the political figure, and also and not blaming someone who does not have the power is the same as saying not blaming a powerful figure. So that answer does match up with what we went over. Let's go ahead and see if we're correct, and we are correct with that answer.
The mu mesons generated by cosmic ray just outside of Earth's atmosphere travels to Earth at a speed approaching the speed of light. So I have that sentence as mu meson travels at the speed of light in cosmic ray. Mu meson generated in the laboratory, however, are nearly at rest. So the way I wrote that sentence was mu meson nearly at rest in the lab. Mu meson generated in the lab typically decays in much less time than it takes for a mu meson to travel from just outside of Earth's atmosphere to our detection apparatus on Earth. So the mu meson in the lab decays in time from out to Earth towards in Earth. If mu meson travels through the atmosphere at a speed approaching the speed of light, typically decays as fast as they do in the laboratory, then we should detect only about 1/100th of the number we actually do detect. Apparently, mu meson moving at the speed near the speed of light. So we're looking for a conclusion right here, kind of like what would come after. And based on this information that I have right now, the mu meson travels at the speed of light in cosmic ray. Then the mu meson are nearly at rest in the laboratory. Mu meson in the laboratory decay in time from out to Earth into Earth, meaning that once it gets closer to Earth at surface, it starts to slow down speed. So the way I would come up or develop what I would consider a logical complete for this argument is by saying, well, the mu meson will eventually reduce in speed when traveling to Earth's surface. So that's kind of how I would have it phrased, and I'm kind of like the answers I'm looking for. So right now, let's look for the see if answer A is it. Take longer to reach Earth than was supposed. No, it's not going to take longer. It's actually going to take it's actually going to reduce the speed. It actually slow down. B are quite difficult to detect with available equipment. No, it wasn't really communicating about it's difficult to detect with the equipment or no equipment that they had. It was more of the reduction of speed. Are much less numerous than previously thought. No, it's not less important than it was before. They weren't signifying that the information is less important than it was before. Decay more slowly than humus almost at rest. Yep, that's what we have as far as the reduction speed. It's going to slow down in speed a lot more. See if the other answer is correct. E are probably not generated by cosmic rays. No. It wasn't it wasn't that it was developed by cosmic rays. They had two different rays, and it was cosmic ray versus the laboratory ray. And the information was more on the reduction speed once it gets to the Earth's surface. So that kind of matches up with this choice right here, choice D, where it says decay more slowly than humus is almost at rest. And let's see if we got it correct, and there we have it.
Buyer. As a buyer for a large chain of department stores, I will buy a garment only if it is fashionable and not too expensive for our clientele. The evening dress from the fall collection by Purity is certainly fashionable, but it is far too expensive for our clientele. Therefore, I will not buy that dress. So basically, it's saying that as a buyer for large chain department stores, I will buy an item only if the item is fashionable, which is A, and not too expensive, which is B. So the item is A, fashionable, however, it is B. So therefore, the conclusion is going to be no. So basically, from this question here, the pattern of reasoning is which one of the following argument most closely resembles the pattern of reasoning in the buyer's argument. If you look at the last sentence here, therefore I will not buy that dress, you notice that you have the first two answer choices that have the exact same meaning, therefore will not, and they also says therefore will not. So those two are closely resemble with these identical to the stimulus. So between these two right here, which are close to the most choice, for the one that's going to be more closely resemble, the pattern of reasoning is going to be these two. However, this material in the snow is more natural in nature, dealing with the water molecules, and this material used in choice B is more the clothing material utilized more in the garment. So choice B is what you are going to be considered more in position to be related to the stimulus, which we just discussed. And for the answer is going to be B. A stuffed animal, in order to pass inspection, must be free of sharp edges and completely sealed. This stuffed hippo is free of sharp edges, but is not completely sealed. Therefore, this hippo will not pass the inspection. So this choice B, which I have right here, is going to be similar to the stimulus that we have on top of here. So let me go ahead and put B. This is going to be choice B, and then this is going to be the stimulus that we have here, which follows the pattern of reasoning very likely with the A plus B, and then how it ends up being A plus B with a conclusion no. So choice B is definitely the better selection for this information. Psychologists report that children in 9-month school typically forget a significant amount of schooling during the summer breaks. So, psychology, the 9-year-olds, there's a percentage of them that are forgetting the information during the summer breaks. So, some educators have proposed a 12-month schedule in which there are 3-month-long break spreads throughout the year. So, educators propose 12 months instead of the 9 months. We should conclude on the basis of psychologists' research that the 12-month schedule is to be preferred insofar as academic learning is concerned. since the schedule will ensure that students will not forget their scheduling during the breaks. So in conclusion, we have they'll favor the 12 months, forget less a percentage of the information if that is taking place. So this question is going to be vulnerable to criticism, kind of like a weakness. Let's start off with choice A. It relies on a unsustained assumption about the comparative width of academic and non-academic learning experience. No. It relies on a 9-month schedule versus a 12-month schedule. Draws an attribute distinction between two groups. No. Not by chance or random on the differences. Takes for granted in comparing two situations that certain undesirable results is correlated with only one of them. Pretty much what we have here right now with the two scenarios. D. Fails to show the data on which the psychologist's conclusion were based was adequately representative of children and the population as a whole. No, data was based on adequate representation. E. Claims to accept a view, but then rejects it in the course of argument. No, does not accept one view, then rejects it. Between C and E, C is a better choice with the two situations that's similar. Let's go ahead and check if we're correct. And we got the answer correct. The Industrial Revolution decreased the value that the society conferred on physical labor because it enabled unskilled workers to quickly produce goods that firmly took skilled craftspeople long periods of time to produce. So for that sentence, I have the Industrial Revolution values in physical labor. Clearly, our most important intellectual skills which similar by devalued by electronic data processing technology. So for that premise, I have unskilled workers quickly produce goods rather than skilled crafted for the prior sentence. However, the analogy parallel is using intelligence versus the computer, as the computer is quicker. Computations that once took skilled mathematicians a long time to perform can quickly be performed by moderate, well-trained high school students using computers. So second premise, high school students with computers are considered to be in a position that are at the same level as a skilled mathematician. So we're going to go ahead and look for a weakening, because this could be a weakening question. So which of the following is true most seriously weakens the argument? We have A. Much industrial machinery is now designed and built with the aid of computers. Slightly yes, because this shows that the aid for computers are going to assist, so we could possibly choose that. Before the electronic data process technology, improvements in mathematical techniques reduced the amount of time it took to perform computations. No, it's not really about the mathematical techniques. More about the history on the computer being able to be utilized as quicker method. On average, skilled mathematicians tend to be much younger when they are in their most productive years than they are skilled craftspeople. No, I consider that kind of irrelevant. It's more of a system with technology and computers rather than the skilled math versus the skilled craft people with the age difference. So I'll get rid of that one. D. The intellectual skills that society value most highly are not computational ones. Yes, that would definitely weaken or lessen the stimulus because it's showing that we gather information from a computer rather than intelligent people. It's kind of what we rely on database electronically. Let's see if E is better. Electronic data process technology has been enable people to perform some tasks that previously could not be performed at all. Slightly S, with people able to do new tasks with computers, but for this choice right here, choice D is more the definitely one that could weaken or lessen it. So we're gonna go with choice D, and we are correct with that answer.